Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in again today. It is Tuesday, January 16th. I have a special guest in the building. Goes by the name of Hazel Owens. Hey, Hazel.
Hello.
How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I was so nervous, honey. So
Why?
nervous. It's my first interview, and I just didn't know how to prepare myself for this.
It's okay. Well, you got to start somewhere.
Yes.
So just take the edge off. Just flow with it.
That's right. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm honored.
So, can you tell the listeners a little bit about who you are and what it is you do?
Well, I am an entrepreneur. I started an organization that was birthed April of 2016 called Perfectly Imperfect Incorporated. It's a faith-based organization to promote wholeness for women in mind, body, and spirit by inspiring them to embrace their unique imperfections and the unconditional love of a perfect God.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's a lot.
Wow.
And so with Perfectly Imperfect, there is a women's group that meets monthly called Virtue. We meet the last Sunday of every month and have been meeting for a little over a year now. And there are workshops that I've taken a pause on. And eventually I will have a private marriage and family therapy practice alongside blogging, social media presence, and paid speaking engagements.
Wow, wow. Yeah. That sounds awesome.
Thank you.
Yes. Wow, Hazel, that was like a mouthful. It's very inspiring though. Mm-hmm. Like, what motivated you to take this journey?
Well, actually, I went through counseling myself several years ago, and I think just dealing with my own personal traumas and emotional wounds and past hurts, seeing what it was like to not only have therapy but have a spiritual component be added to that. I've been a Christian pretty much my whole life. I started taking my walk with God seriously in 2012, and not too long after that I started therapy. Mm-hmm. And so having those two factors just play a role in my life, to make some sense of some things that was happening to me from a psychological and emotional standpoint, but also from a spiritual standpoint, and how God was still in the midst of all of that, and to come out on the other side and see my life just completely do a 180. I wanted other women to feel the same way I was feeling. I wanted other women to learn to take the mask off and just be who they are designed to be, who God says that they are, and not feel like that they need to strive for perfection in every area of their life, because nobody's perfect. So that was the motivation behind it all.
Wow. Yeah. And I think a lot of women probably could relate to that. You know, we all going through something. Mm-hmm. And it's good to see a woman like yourself who's been through some of these things, overcome it, and just share what she's been through to inspire the next person. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you. It's not about me, you know, and the thing is that we go through a lot of things, and a lot of times we keep those things to ourselves, thinking that nobody else is going through that. Like, this is only happening to me, and 9 times out of 10, that's not the case. It has happened to somebody else, but we don't share our story enough to be of help to someone, because we're so afraid of what somebody else may think, or what they may say, or if they'll even believe us. And so, for me, it was just about sharing my testimony, and once I started doing that and being obedient on the times of when to share my testimony, just things just started opening up.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing, and thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you.
You know, I would have never knew that you would say that much of a mouthful. I mean, I've been knowing you for a long time.
Your whole life.
My whole life. I've been knowing you. This is my aunt, y'all. But, like, just to see the woman that you are now is very inspiring. So,
well, I'm glad. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's not my doing. It's the Almighty, but I appreciate it.
So, you said that you started taking this walk more seriously with God, like 2012.
Mm-hmm.
What inspired that?
I got tired.
Yeah.
I mean, really and truly, like, I was just tired, and tired of, like, just feeling like life that was, I don't know, I just felt like something was missing. And while I was still going to church, and I just wasn't, like, real serious about it, and nothing was making me happy. I was, like, always upset about something. I was wearing this mask, so I was, like, one way in front of one group of people, another way in front of these group of people, then another way in front of my family, and I lost sight of who I truly was. And so I think I just got tired, and my initial thought was, okay, well, maybe I need to do more at church. I do a lot in the community. Maybe I need to get more involved at church. And even that wasn't enough, because my mindset on Christianity and what it means to be a Christian was coming from a really like poor motives, I guess, where I just felt like I needed to be like what I call a checkbox Christian. You know, I went to church, check. I was nice to my neighbor, check. I was, you know, I served in a ministry, check. You know what I mean? And not really doing it out of the love and reverence for God and allowing Him to love on me. And so I just got tired and was like, something's got to give. There's got to be a better way to go about this life.
Right. And you know, you're absolutely right. It's so much hypocrisy in religion, and it kind of like steers people away from going to church. And it's nice to hear someone else say that, like, that they don't want to be that way.
Yeah.
What advice could you give those struggling in faith and struggling to take that walk because of all of the hypocrisy?
Well, I think what we got to understand is that no church is perfect. There was only one perfect person that walked this earth, and His name was Jesus Christ. So I think we have to understand that a church is a place for sick people. So when you are sick spiritually or mentally or emotionally, what have you, that is where you can go with other believers who are walking this journey with you. We were not meant to be alone. So not so much worrying about what somebody else is doing or not doing, but staying true to what God has called you to do.
Right.
I think a lot of times in the church we, and this is not to downplay church hurt, because church hurt is real, and I've seen people, you know, fall victims to church hurt. It is definitely real, and I'm not trying to minimize that or make excuses for it.
Right.
But at the same time, we have to remember that these people who are leading churches, they are human beings. I'm a leader in the church. I'm flawed. And I let it be known to everybody that sit in my classroom or where I'm ministering or speaking at, know that I'm a flawed individual. Like, so I'm not perfect. I'm not going to claim to be perfect. Don't put me on a pedestal. But unfortunately, that is part of the that comes with the territory. It's part of the job. And so because I have taken this walk more seriously, and I am in a position where I'm at as far as in the church or whatever the case may be, I do have to be held accountable for my actions. So while I say all of that, there are people in positions at church that do need to be held accountable for the things that they do. At the same time, those of us who are new to the faith and struggling with our faith, we can't let what other people are doing or not doing deter us from our walk with God.
Right.
Let God deal with that.
Yeah.
And you focus on you and do what it is that God is tugging on your heart to do.
Right. Now, I know coming up, I remember you just going away to college, and like, you was like the first one out of our family to go somewhere, and you was like down here in Indianapolis, you was on your own. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about that experience so that I can ask the next question?
Yeah, sure. So college was fun and too much fun in some ways. So, you know, my father and I were not on best of terms by the time I left. We for years just did not have a great relationship. You know, he abused drugs and alcohol. That brought in all kinds of issues within the house. So it was a lot of like just fighting and fussing that I think many of members of our family didn't even know some of the things that was going on, especially during the times where it was just me and my younger brother at home, and the older two siblings were out because, you know, they started families and they're doing their thing. There was a lot that was happening that my younger brother and I saw that was just way too much. And so at 18, I knew I had to go somewhere in order to escape what I was dealing with at home. So while in high school, I was involved in everything. Like, I worked, I did all kinds of stuff so I could stay away from home. And I knew if I devoted myself to positive things, while in high school, that was outside of like going to school, my mama would be like, okay, yeah, you can do it. So at 18, I had to go. I needed to leave. So literally 30 days after graduating high school, I left and came here, and I wowed out. Like, completely wowed out. Freshman year was dope. I met a lot of new people. I reconnected with some old friends from my old neighborhood. And it was just amazing. But I wowed out, and I just partied way too much in college. So freshman year, I did more partying than studying, and I thought that, well, I didn't really see a issue with it, like, because I was still making good grades. So I was always that smart kid, like, and I kind of like took advantage of that in a sense. And then sophomore year came, and I still was doing more partying, but the classes got harder,
Right.
So I ended up, long story short, I flunked out. And the family just thought I was on a break, but I literally got kicked out. I got kicked out, and then I fought to go back, and I did all these appeals, got denied a couple times, and finally made myself wait back in. And then it became too much, because at that point I was needing to live in an apartment, and so trying to work and go to school was just too hard for me. So I ended up, this time I left on my own instead of getting kicked out, and I just focused on work. And so I was struggling. Like, I mean, it was a grind. It was a hustle. Like, I didn't really, at one point I didn't have a car, trying to work, and public transportation here in Indy at the time was not like public transportation in Chicago or even in Gary. I mean, it was really cumbersome to get from one side of the city to the other. And I was still partying like crazy. Like, I was over 21, so I was always in the club.
Turn up.
It was yeah, in and out of unhealthy relationships, being promiscuous, just doing whatever I felt like doing. And at the same time, I'm wearing all these masks because I shielded some of that from my family. Like, I still presented myself to be this, goody two-shoe in a sense, because that's what they expected me to be. They expected me to be the one that, is gonna make good grades and make good decisions and do all these things, while in actuality, I was down here not making the best decisions. Like,
right. But when going through all of this, and this is something that I feel like I'm happy you sharing the story. What made you never come home?
I didn't want to.
But so
like, that was a point of time where I probably should have came home. The way things were going for me, it was that bad where my mother even said, Hazel, you may need to come home for a year. And she was trying to, and I was like, no, I can't do it. I think I needed to prove to myself that I could make it on my own. And I wasn't ready to face my dad. So it was like a both and deal. And I was just like, I'd rather struggle down here than to live in a house that's like chaotic, and I got so much anger in me that I don't know what I would do the next time he raised his voice, or the next time he tried to put his hands on her or do something. Yeah. I don't know what I would have done. So I was like, it's best that I stay here. And I needed, like I said, I need to prove to myself too that I can make this work. Right. I can do this.
So that right in itself, that was a storm. Yeah. Now I want you to tell everybody about the rainbow that happened after the storm. So tell them about some of your successful stories that happened because of it.
So, after going through all of that, I decided to, like I said, focus on work, and landed a job in corporate America. And quickly, like very quickly, moved up. And that did not come without struggle. So let me not even like paint this picture like it was like the easiest thing. It did not come without struggle. But I started to move up, and I was still underpaid even with the type of position that I ended with there, where I'm working alongside people, and I took over an AVP and a VP's position, and yet I'm making entry-level salary. Like, people in the call center are making more than I am.
Sheesh. My gosh.
So I'm sitting here working in a position where I have leadership, I have some authority, and I'm being measured against my peers that are making twice as much on the very low end to 3 times as much as what I'm making.
Wow.
And it became unfair. But through that time in corporate, I was able to finish school. So I went ahead and finished my bachelor's, and then immediately went into my master's because I just knew I was going to be a corporate trainer. That was the path that was set for me professionally to become a corporate trainer. And so I was grinding, like working my butt off, and at the same time falling apart. Right. So I mean, I know you want to like successes, but no success comes without struggle.
Absolutely.
And so while I am elevating in corporate, I am still struggling in some areas. I'm fighting against these male egos, Caucasian male egos, and I'm the youngest and only African American woman in the boardroom.
Right.
So so there's these different struggles. Now I'm also at the same time caring for my father who lived 3 hours north. Mm-hmm. So I'm driving 2 times, sometimes 3 times a month to go care for him. And at the beginning of our journey of being caregiver and care receiver, it was rough because we had to work through our issues and learn forgiveness, and compassion has to get developed and all that good stuff. So doing all of that, school full time, work full time, and I fall into a depression and don't even realize it. And the crazy thing is, on paper, everything looked great. Hazel got a great job. Hazel making good money. Not the best money, but making good money. Mm-hmm. And everything just looked good. But I was depressed and ended up getting prescribed depression meds and found myself in therapy at that point. And then therapy is when the rainbow came.
Right.
And so that is when I started to understand more about things that were happening in my childhood, in my adolescent years, why those things were taking place, understanding a little bit more as to how I express emotion and why, and how to unlearn some of the things that I've learned, and how to not treat people based off of all the negative experiences that I've dealt with. How to not treat a guy based off of the negative relationships that I was in and out of, and those relationships stem from a lack of a relationship with my father. So, just learning and unlearning some things, and then also drawing closer to God in the process, that developed a passion that was already there that I didn't know was there. I knew I liked teaching. I knew I liked mentoring and helping people and serving, but I didn't know that was a burning passion. And that passion ultimately led me to what I truly believe is my purpose and calling in life, and that is what I'm doing now.
Right.
So and it's been one amazing thing after another. So after therapy, and I started actually activating those passions and listening to God and moving in the directions when He tells me to move. Next thing you know, I'm on the radio for a year, being a co-host. I'm being invited for speaking engagements to speak to singles and women and just all kinds of crazy stuff. I had a commercial going on for a while through my alma mater. My blog had, jumped off, and this is like just all these things that just started happening. These doors just started opening that I didn't even know was like possible.
Right.
And I was never prepared for or equipped for it. It just kind of happened. And then next thing you know, because of all of that, here comes Perfectly Imperfect Inc. And it's still in the building phases, but it's here.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, that is so dope. Like, it's crazy. And I feel kind of bad in a way because you my whole auntie. I didn't even know you was going through all of this. But now that you sharing this experience with me, it's kind of like more motivating to the walk that I'm trying to take now.
Yeah,
So, but now I want to ask you more about the organization that you started. Tell the audience about Perfectly Imperfect.
So like I said earlier, it is a platform for women, an organization that literally was birthed out of a series of blogs. I had a blog site called Coco's Couch, Embracing and Empowering Perfectly Imperfect Women. And it was just messages that I felt God was placing on my heart to give to women. Some of these messages were off of experiences that I've had and things that I've learned along the way. Some of it was just stuff that I was dealing with right in the moment and seeking the inspiration for it and finding that inspiration for that particular issue or whatever the case may be. And so as I continue to learn to let God love on me in the way that He already does love us and started to embrace that for myself, I felt this outgrowth to, share it with others. And so I just got to a place that, hey, I'm jacked up, I'm flawed, And there are some things about me that I can change, and there are some things about me that is just the way that it is, and that's how God designed me, and I need to embrace those things.
Period.
And so, sometimes you hear people say, well, that's just how I am. So, no, some things you can change about you for the betterment. But there are some things that, God wants to use those things about you. I am bubbly, very bubbly. I cannot change that. That is part of my personality. That is who I am. And God used this bubbly, energetic person for his good. So even with the most extreme introvert, I can still pull something out from them based off of the energy that I bring. So I have learned to just basically be okay with myself. Mm-hmm. So with those messages, I just felt this sense that there was something more. Being called at different places around the state of Indiana and even outside of the state of Indiana to speak showed me that this is a need, and lots of women need this stuff. Mm-hmm. And there's money with it. And so while I wasn't really, and I'm still not really doing it for the money, but it was just like, wow, okay, but God, you want me to develop this organization to help reach more people in that way. So part of that meant going to seminary school. So I'm in seminary right now, getting a Master's of Divinity and Marriage and Family Therapy degree so that I can have a therapy practice under Perfectly Imperfect Inc. to not only counsel women, but to counsel their entire family unit. Mm-hmm. So the goal with the therapy is to restore the family unit. Many of us come from broken homes and single parents and even in two-parent households where it's just absolutely chaotic and there has been some type of breakdown in the family system. And so I want to be able to help heal to that. Okay. And then there's workshops and a women's group and my blogging and social media presence and speaking engagements.
Okay.
So yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, wow, that's very, very dope. Thanks. I cannot wait till you get into practice. I'll probably sit in your chair a couple times myself, because I'm wacky. But so my next question then is, like, what goals and expectations do you have for Perfectly Imperfect? Like, what can we look forward to seeing in the future?
Excuse me. Well, right now, I have intentionally took a pause on workshops. Okay. Because I'm doing field work right now for the Masters of Divinity program. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting some training. And then excuse me, for the marriage and family therapy component, I'll actually start my clinical work this summer. Okay. So it's just way too much right now to do those things. So what is happening is a women's group that meets monthly called Virtue. And you can expect more blog posts right now upon my journey. I have a preaching engagement coming up. And I still accept some speaking engagements. I usually announce those via social media. Okay. But
and can you tell what is the name of your blog? Like, where can people find it?
Just go to hazelowens.com.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep, yes. hazelowens.com, and you can find everything about Perfectly Imperfect there. The blogs are there. And then I'm on Instagram at _Hazel Owens, Twitter at _Hazel Owens, Facebook Hazel Owens.
Oh, see, look, that's easy. That's catchy, too catchy. Well, thank you so much for coming today.
I'm so proud of you.
No, I'm proud of you, honey. Like, I needed that story today. That just gave me some chills. So
just stay encouraged, man. Like, to any listener that's out there, male, female, just stay encouraged, stay focused, stay in the fight. Know that you were created on purpose with purpose. So nothing that you are going through in this season is without purpose, and it will, I promise you, come together and work for your good. Just stay focused and stay the course.
Amen. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. That was Hazel Owens. Make sure you guys check out her blog site at hazelowens.com. Yes. And I will be posting more episodes for you guys periodically, hopefully every day. Thank you for listening. Tune in next time.
Peace.
Hey, go Raya, it's your birthday. Go Raya, it's your birthday. Go Raya, it's your birthday. We got Raya in the house. Naraya in the house. What day is today?
Tuesday.
I said, what's the day?
Tuesday.
Cause we got Raya here on a Tuesday. And we rapping cause we do this shit every day. This my podcast and you know they call me Queen Quay. Gonna listen to me, subscribing on iTunes. And you can get me on
Here's a
Google. What's today?
Here's a lie.
I said, what's today?
Tuesday.
I said, what's today?
Tuesday.
What is today, Raya?
Tuesday.
What is today, Raya?